an Amazon delivery. They're supposed to put them in the back door. This driver probably should have thrown it up on the front door. But it's like, it's about 6 o'clock at night or something. I said, I'm not calling. I didn't worry about it. Sure as hell got stolen. I saw it on the video or on the camera. Saw the guy come up and pick it up, but I couldn't see his face. Just got a bald spot, kind of what I found around the back of the head. But yeah, so it was. Yeah. I called and complained. I said, you didn't put it where it's supposed to. They replaced it.
Oh, I do that. I hate well, then I got one other thing, but I'm like, it's fine, phone part. It only hurts.
You know
that.
You're rolling out or rolling?
Yeah, but let's go because I experimented a lot. I didn't want to. Let's see. Walk it off. I actually.
That's, I talked to AD. You never, they went up. And they were, we searched, they inquired about why. Well, they can inquire. Right.
It's like 6.
All
right. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not telling you that. I'm not sure this guy had any business. Yeah.
You're right, it's not, I haven't heard it yet. I was looking to see if it was out there.
Oh. Wow.
He knows what you're doing. He's faithful if you send him.
No, if he sends it to me.
I haven't heard the thing this one.
We ready, Michelle?
I know, because I. The red box, I thought it was, but. All right. At this time, we will begin our work study session for the Adrian City Commission for October 2nd, 2023. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry, present, Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
all commission members present.
At this time, I will turn it over to our city administrator, Greg Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the cleanup of the riverfront. By this we mean the area west of Winter Street, north of Maumee. There's kind of been the focus of our some of our efforts with respect to the enhancement grant that we got. But as you know, that surrounds the former Telegram properties that a group of private investors acquired, and both that property and the related riverfront land all suffer from similar challenges environmentally. Kirk Valentine is one of the investor group is here tonight to present on that. I believe that's a request of you as well. Kirk, I'll turn it over to you. Spot where I can just up at the end here. I could, if you want to sit.
Okay, if I stand.
Also okay if you stay.
Thank you. So I'm one of the people that thought it was a brilliant idea to buy all those properties on North Winter Street and keep them out of the hands of DTE. Obviously, their intent was to buy it, and they bid against us and they were gonna throw a fence around it and leave it. And we didn't want that to happen, so a group of us got together, we beat them at the auction. Not sure if it was a good idea or not, but we did. And our intent, obviously, is to put new housing there. Now, there's 3 different efforts going on kind of simultaneously. There's the riverfront people, which are not us. That's more your public side of things. There's some streetscape activities, which hopefully will take place as this goes. And then there's ours, which is the private investment. It's the old Telegram building, the Access, the old Eagles building, and we have just acquired that duplex house. It used to be a chiropractor's office just north of the Eagles. So we own that stretch up through there for the most part. We also own an awful lot of riverfront. If you go basically from the Citizens Gas site all the way down behind Courtyard Commons, we own all that riverfront. That's part of our parcel. So as the Riverwalk project moves forward, we're going to be more than willing to grant easements, whatever it takes to make sure that we've got that nice park-like atmosphere that they want to create going from Comstock to Maple. 2 years ago, we had a kickoff meeting and we had folks there from the city, the county, Eagle, MEDC. We got everybody in the room that we could. We talked through what we wanted to accomplish. And we started a relationship with Eagle. The county BRA signed off for us as far as the application went, and we've been working 2 years with Eagle. And we're at a bit of an impasse with Eagle. I'm not going to say they haven't been helpful, but they have. We all know that as you do environmental study, everybody likes to create papers. Okay, and this is about half of it that's been done over the course of the last couple of years on our wonderful property. We have found significant contamination. And nobody is willing to say exactly where it came from. But, there's not that aha moment. But when there's coal and slag 15-foot buried along the riverbank, and it's got things like cyanide and arsenic and those type of materials in it, you kind of know that there was some type of coal gasification process taking place. So more than likely, that's where it came from back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Nobody can say definitively that the telegram didn't cause some of the contamination, but nobody can say yes, no, or otherwise. With that being said, as we've gone through this process, there's been a lot of borers done, bore a hole in the ground, they slide a pipe in it, they take soil samples, they do vapor samples, they've drilled holes in the floors of all the buildings, they pulled vapor samples just to see what they could find. And again, it kind of looks like the periodic table. Well, the whole intent all the way along has been to remove the contaminants. We think they should go. And especially if there's going to be a river walk and boardwalks and all these nature trails and everything, it doesn't work very good when there's 15 foot of fill along the riverbank. To me, that whole grade has got to change just a little bit for that to work. But again, that's kind of everybody else. We're the private investment trying to build apartments along Winter Street. Even at that, looking at the contaminants that are along Winter Street, a lot of them aren't very deep. Okay, up close to the road. They're finding them at 3 to 5 feet. So we're not talking 15 foot of fill along Winter Street. We're talking 3 to 5 foot. Obviously, the closer you get to the river, the deeper it gets. Over the last few rounds of conversations with Eagle, they have pretty much dug in on what's called a vapor intrusion system, which means they would leave the contaminants in place, throw a bag over the top, vent them to somewhere else on the property and call it a day. We're not crazy about that. And we're at a bit of an impasse with them on this particular topic. And I don't know if we can get them off center, but what I'm here asking you, and I sent a copy of the resolution. I don't know if you have it or not. If you don't, I brought copies. But basically what the ask is. I'll give one to the attorney first, and he can go from there. And there's a lot of words in it. I didn't prepare it. Some other folks within our group prepared it along with the help of the environmental firm that we've been paying for the last 2 years. But it comes right down to the last paragraph, which basically says that the City of Adrian Commission fully supports the removal of the material versus just. And that's my ask tonight, that you would pass a resolution, whether it be this one or one that you do, or modify this one. That basically requests of Eagle that as we continue through this process with them, that they look at removing the contaminants versus just leaving them there and throwing a bag over the top. Because I don't think that's good for anybody. And we certainly, as investors and good stewards, really don't want to leave it there because, you know, a few years down the road, who knows, maybe nothing. But we've all heard the stories from around the country, and I'd prefer not to be one of those type of sites. And if we remove it, we don't have to worry about it. And I don't think it's that onerous to remove it because, again, we're going to be excavating to do foundations and those type of things along Winter Street anyways. It just makes sense to get rid of that. And then as we move closer to the river, if this Riverwalk project does move forward, it certainly makes sense that you're going to want to get rid of the fill anyways and have more of a terraced effect down to the river instead of it just dropping off 20 feet into the river. So I think this ask benefits everybody moving forward, whether it's the Riverwalk group, our private investment, or just the public at large, to get rid of the contaminants that are there. That, again, I can't look into the future. It might not be a big deal. But when I look at it, and especially when our environmental experts that we've been paying all this money for the last couple of years says, yeah, you really want to get rid of this, I'm going to take their advice.
Kirk, it's my understanding that you're going to ask the county commission for a similar resolution. Is that correct?
Yes, we were informed that it's going to go before them, Ways and Means Committee on May 10th. I'm going to attend that meeting as well.
November,
Or
October.
October 10th, yeah, man, October 10th. And I'm gonna go there as well, kind of give them the same spiel. We have gotten feedback from their chairman that they think it's a good idea. Of course, they're right there.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I fully support this. I don't see.
I would certainly support it.
There's Lanny that did some riverfront work and then eventually had to shut the park down because they didn't, kind of the same thing happened without mitigating that.
A lot worse things happened because of that, but yeah, they also had to shut their trail down after that.
Yeah.
Had to open it.
Seems.
You know, you and I talked, I'm surprised that Eagle would even attempt to cover it up anyways, instead of using it. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, just from a safety standpoint and an environmental standpoint either. That's,
Well, it's a cost thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously the closest licensed landfill is what, 2.5 hours away. So that's who knows how many truckloads of stuff that has to go there. So, you know, there's definitely an expense that's added to this, you know, but, you know, the Brownfield Authority was established in what, the mid-90s, and there's been all sorts of, you know, updates and enabling legislation and everything else, and all that was put in place to me for sites like this, clean them up and take those materials somewhere where nobody's going to be, you know, walking around or living on top. So I think it's an expense thing. And, you know, I can only speculate why, but, you know, we can't get them off center. I mean, we had the Holden Branch is the gentleman we've been typically dealing with besides the rest of the crew, Ron Smedley and Doc Stater and everybody. And we had Holden's replacement or temporary replacement in today, Ari McKeever. And he was right there with everything else that's been going on. We're actually thinking about funding some more testing ourselves to really pinpoint, especially where the PCEs are and those type of things, to see just how much material we're talking about. So we can maybe push back on Eagle ourselves, but again, this resolution is just. Your support for the project and getting rid of the contaminants. That's our ask.
No brainer for me.
Yep, me too.
Yep.
Perfect.
Can we get that in the next agenda?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if there's no other discussion, we can add it to the next. one, and then we'll just put on. It's, talk about here.
Okay, great. And if anybody wants some real, nighttime reading,
Thanks, but no.
riveting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. Okay, next, you'll recall your homework was to read the special assessment policy. So Matt has returned to discuss his handiwork with you all. Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Those provisions to the special assessment policy.
I would like to mention, the back page, there was a typo, property A, should be 140 feet of frontage. The mayor pointed that out. Just making sure she's paying attention.
Oh,
I
right
said,
on.
yeah, I'm good at my math.
Somebody did her homework.
I was like, something's wrong. I got you looking at it? Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just here to list any comments and concerns.
I think it's great that we have it down in black and white.
Yeah.
You made the worst meeting of the year, maybe a little less.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Maybe a
we'll see.
little less bad.
We'll see. We have those coming up soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just think if it's very clear, then they understand exactly. I think that it was the ambiguity that was why we were getting a lot of the complaints and where some of the confusion was.
So if this gets approved, we'd probably look to put this on for some of the projects we're finishing up this summer. We probably in the next month or so, we'll have a special hearing.
Summer's over that.
Well, we're still working on projects.
Yes, you are. Every time I make a turn, I find one.
Progress.
Yeah, there
Progress.
you go.
So the number 8, street construction, any modification to the driveway approach will be charged entirely to the property owner. What if they don't want, what if
They don't want a drive approach?
they don't want.
They don't want it changed.
They don't want it changed, they don't want to have it done.
Then it's, if there's no changes, it's based on that formula. So
Right.
they don't have any extra fees if there's no changes.
Right,
If there is a change, they'll get charged based on that formula plus whatever the extra frontage or the extra,
who decides if it changes,
the property. owner.
the property owner?
We
does
give them
decide.
enough time to decide whether they want to change their driveway before the project starts.
Okay, I didn't feel like that was clear,
Okay,
maybe I'm the only one, but.
Any request?
any requested modification? Yeah, I can. add that.
Request.
Yeah, because I don't think that was clear, because the number 6, where it says that those that have a driver approach that was ported in the last 3 years and can supply proof of the same will receive that discount, but maybe, I don't know, maybe there doesn't be something in there, because I guess I didn't think they could request to not have it either.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't read that they can opt out.
Okay. I will make some changes.
I'm not sure how. to state that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll also have that on your agenda next time. Action. Third item for tonight was the Human Relations Commission ordinance, which we talked about last time. There were a couple of modifications, clarifications that you had requested last time, so I incorporated those into the version that was in your packets, but I don't know, The continued discussion was requested by Commissioner Roberts, and I don't know if she was out of town, if she had a chance to review this, or if you want to put it over to the next meeting.
There's just a couple of typos, but I have a meeting tomorrow with Lady Bernard so we have not had a chance to thoroughly get the feedback that I would like. I mean, I don't know that we were going to do anything with this tonight. I don't have any other modifications except the minor typo things. But there's still some. I don't know, I just feel like there's still some question out there in my head of, is this done right? Are we doing the right? I know there was one question I had about training, and is this really the body that should be number 2, requested by the city, aid in training city employees? Is this really the body that should be doing that? So these are questions I still have in my mind, and I would like to discuss with Lady Bernard and others before we move forward with anything.
So would you like it on next time then? Next work session?
Probably. I think it's going to depend on our meeting tomorrow to see where we're at. And I'm only one person, so the rest of you guys, if you want it on the next meeting, then we put it on the next meeting.
Right. Just so you know, the changes that were made last time, again, they related to enumerations that were in here that were maybe made the language less broad than it should have been. Again, 3831B. Third sentence, well, now it's second sentence. The members of the Human Relations Commission, as nearly as possible, shall be broadly representative of the community. And that the sentence there, rather than enumerate the kind of people who might be on it, because we thought that wasn't sufficiently inclusive. And then preamble and C. Human Relations, at the beginning, the Human Relations Commission is intended to foster mutual understanding and respect among all racial, religious, and nationality groups. We just said all persons in the city. So those were the 2 changes that we made since last time.
So I had a comment, and I wasn't at the last meeting. I did watch it via Zoom. And I thought I heard somebody ask the question or make the comment, and maybe it was just my imagination because I wanted to make the comment. When we talk about in the first paragraph, 3831A, and I guess again in what we C2, when we talk about all the categories of individuals, I'm concerned that if we don't make it broad, we will have to keep revisiting the ordinance as things are added. So even this one right now, the governor signed legislation back in June to add hair and different categories of hair. I don't know, say hair texture, colors, whatever, and also as a protected class. So that, I mean, if we did this tonight, we'd have to go back and modify the ordinance again to add that. And I asked Mr. Galuli, John, would it be possible for you to draft some kind of broader statement? I don't know what it would sound like, but anti-discrimination in any federal or state or identified groups. I'm not sure what it means, but I'd hate to have us having to come back every 6 months to redo the ordinance. That's
So if we do that, the way we came up with this language is that it is included in our anti-discrimination ordinance. So this is the exact language that is in the next article of this chapter related to prohibitions against discrimination. you're gonna change this, now you really wanna open the whole chapter up and have that as well.
That was
Not
9 years
saying,
ago,
yeah,
too. That was 9 years ago when I was adopted, things have changed, laws have changed, and stuff like that, so it's probably not a bad idea.
To do both.
No.
Could it be something where it can change, like an including, but not limited to based on current state, federal regulation? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just
That's why we
asking.
have an attorney.
I mean, it's always better, and Dr. speak to this as well, but it's always better to just if you're trying to model other standards, just reference those other standards, don't restate what they say.
I guess that's kind of the question I'm asking.
Yeah, it's easy if you'd like in one or both to put a broad preamble in.
Mhm.
You can abide by Title VII, Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, things of that nature. Other state, yes, that can be accomplished. Absolutely.
I just want to cover all the bases now and in the future.
And I do know that during public comment that chair of the HRC, Lita Bernard, is wanting, she's got some concerns with some of the ordinance language as well. And I know she's going to speak on that during public comment. And she already talked to me about that earlier today, but I mean, and so maybe that'll,
Well, she's welcome to speak now.
you want her to have, okay,
I mean,
yeah.
Lady Bernard, if you want to speak now,
Since you are the chair. Yep.
this is the time for
Yep.
us to discuss this, and you're on a city commission, so.
Well, one thing that changed, Andrea Bernard. One thing that Commissioner Roberts said is we will be meeting tomorrow. And if you want me to, I can just go over everything with them, and then we present it to you before the next meeting so that you can show what we have accomplished. Because it's gonna take more than 3 minutes to me.
You got all the
Well, you have all the
Oh,
We
okay.
always run
Oh.
short, so.
Okay,
we'll
okay,
start
well,
late.
well, we can start at least, okay. On the first page, one thing that we talked about was eliminating such members if they're, someone is taken out or they resign, that we would have someone to succeed them by appointing them to serve the unexpired time. Instead of doing that, let's just scrap the unexpired time and just reappoint someone. So I would like to see you do that instead of us having to keep up with how much time a person does. They're not elected officials. We're
Well,
not elected.
But we do use terms and we do that so that we get, appropriate amount of turnover and can keep track of how long people have been on boards and commissions. And it's important to our status as a redevelopment ready community also to have that regular opportunity for people to participate in our boards and commissions. So it would be appropriate for it to be the remaining term. That's what it currently says.
Okay, well, that eliminates that. Okay, on page 2. We are talking about foster mutual understanding and respect among all. And we mentioned religion, racial, nationality groups in the city. You did say you changed it to persons.
Which number?
Yeah, on page 2 at, I'm having trouble with my eyes right
It
now.
looks like,
Right there.
it looks like paragraph C2.
Is that I?
It's
That's right,
your
yours.
pagination is different than mine. So that's on page 1. That's the preamble. That is what we changed.
Okay,
So now reads foster mutual understanding and respect among all persons.
persons, okay. So that is exactly what I had.
Good.
Now, I wanted to ask the question, can you define how that should be done and why and how you are going to assign that for us to do? So that's something for you to think about, all of you. And then when we talk about the responsibility of the HRC, educate themselves, have different programs, and our commissioner did mention that tonight, Mr. Roberts. How do we train the city people? How do we train the HRC? Who do you want to be included in doing the training? And how do you want that implemented? Now, what we did do, when we get a new HRC member, we do a training for them now. So the last two people that came on, we did a update training, gave them information so that they would be updated as to what is responsibility that we are asking them to do. So I need us to maybe put something in there that relates to how we are going to accomplish these all the way through from 1 to 6. Actually, well, we took 5 and 6 out. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Then the other one is endeavor to secure the cooperation of various groups. How are we going to endeavor to do that if we don't have the opportunity to have more meetings? We're cutting us down to 4 meetings a year. And if we're going to add meetings to it, and I'm thinking maybe 6 instead of 4 would be better for us to consider, because the year goes by pretty fast, but having short time to get things together and actually implement them, we need a little bit more time for us to meet. So think about how we are going to accomplish that goal. And how do we address it? Because we're taking away investigations. And when we're all happy about that, because it doesn't go very well, we have no authority to really do anything after we do the investigation, but report to you. So what we would like to have you all think about and also try to implement in some kind of way is that we actually have a process of how we do it, since we're going to take away the grievance process investigating part. Okay, so that's one of the things I want us to put into the ordinance, because that is necessary. And when we talk about cooperation, which is number, I think it's number 9 on my page, I don't know what it says, cooperate with and seek the cooperation of federal, state, and county. What we did do is that we did have set up a training for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We had the training set up for the Civil Rights Department to do it. And we didn't get a chance to get that completed. Are we including those kind of agencies, not just local? Because I know Commissioner wanted us to use some of the agencies in our community, which we do. But I'm wondering, can we reach out, because it does say state and federal. And I am an advocate for us doing that, because the Department of Civil Rights is willing to come most of the time for free training. And if they're willing to do free training, let's push us into it. I know I attend their trainings in Lansing every chance I can. So I do bring it back, but I'm a one person. I think it'd be good for all of our people to be able to be exposed. So if they cannot, because of job or opportunity to get to those trainings, we can bring it here. We do have, I have a lot of people just in the waiting to come to Adrian and actually implement that. So that's one of the other things that I would like to see us put into the ordinance. And the reporting. When we're doing the reporting part, we say January 15th is the reporting part. I know you all talked a little bit about that the last time. Financial reporting, but you also have in here reporting, giving a physical report of what we are going to be doing and what we would like to do. So I'm asking you to maybe include, instead of quarterly, I mean a year, that you do it quarterly, that we actually have a report that we give to you quarterly if we're going to be only meeting quarterly. So instead of just January 15th. Okay. The other thing about the fiscal year, the city of Adrian's fiscal year is July 1 to June 30. Can we actually be different? That's a question. Can we actually be the calendar year? Because we're actually operating on a calendar year, because when I send out the report for our meetings to be posted, I give them January to December. And I'm wondering if we could do that. if we could-
You wouldn't be on a different, you wouldn't be
won't
on
be
a
out of
different
order.
fiscal year, but you can, the finance department can generate a report for any time period. Is relevant, they can generate a calendar.
And there's other commissions too that post at the beginning of the year, their meeting dates
Right,
and all that stuff. So
Right.
yeah, that,
okay.
I don't think that'd be.
So being that kind of thing, our physical report, or our officers are done in the annual meeting. And our consideration for our annual meeting is the same as yours, in that June would be our annual meeting. Can we make that November be our annual meeting? The reason why I say that December, we haven't been having meetings because the holidays and people don't want to meet. And they didn't come, so we voted to not have December. So now, November is a good month because it's the end of the year. We're trying to put in place all the things that we'd like to do for the next year. I've already done that, and I have some suggestions as to what we can do, including town halls. And only thing is what months and what days we are going to be meeting. If you say 4 or if you say 6, I would need to know so I can plug those opportunities into that. So once I get that information from you, Commission, and our city attorney and the administrator, then I can put something together that you will have before the end of the year, because I've already worked on it. And so I've already have people in the waitings to come to Adrian from the Department of Civil Rights. We have people in law enforcement that are across the country that are willing to come and not charge us. And you all talked about the budget. We have not used but one opportunity. We used money, and that was only to feed the attendance, and that was at the Weather Center last year. So that one training, we spent money. We are trying our best not to have to spend anything, but there are some things that do cost, and that is transportation, getting here and that kind of thing, or giving somebody just something to say thank you. $50 for the gas, or just say thank you, something like that. But most of the organizations set up something as an honorarium to people just for their services. So if we could do that, then that will lock us into how much we would be spending. So far in the last few years, we have not spent more than $300. And our budget, even some of the monies that we did have acquired, that First Federal gave us, that's how long ago it was. First Federal gave us, paid for our training. I don't have a problem soliciting funds to pay for more training if it costs money. But you have to tell me what is possibility. How am I doing? Time-wise?
About time, maybe
Okay.
a couple more minutes.
Okay. All right, one more thing that I will address, and then we can talk to them when I can, is how do you envision this group taking the opportunity to assist the employees of the city? Meaning that we offer some type of training that embraces what you are asking us to do, just so they know what we're doing. Or this that they attend so that they can see, they don't have to be questioned, or they don't have to say what they feel about diversity, equity, and inclusion. If they're wanting to just see how it operates, we can have that as an inroads. Or we can just have something where city employees can come and we sit down with them and just have them ask questions, and we give them answers. So there's a lot of ways that we can do whatever you want us to do. But most of all, I'm thankful to you for not ditching us. So thank you for your time.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any questions? I was gonna say.
So I just wanted to clarify on the meetings, those quarterly meetings, that does not include like if you're doing town halls or whatever. I just want to make sure
Right,
you
they
you
did
know
say-
that, okay?
they did
I just want
say
to make
that.
sure, okay.
But I was thinking about pre-meetings. We're not gonna be having pre-meetings. We're not gonna be having additional meetings. But if I can set up where we do have meetings, we can. So also, we are thinking about how to set it up where the officers, executive part of the group actually have the chance to meet outside of the regular meetings. So if we can get some business done, I think that would be the best for us. Even if you do four meetings a year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So last thing I had scheduled to talk about is kind of other policies that we need and this is more of a request for ideas also, and I don't have any specific drafts of anything here to go over with you, but these are things that have come up recently or come up all the time, and you know, we don't really, you know, we're doing okay, but we don't really have a policy to address it if we ever get discord about it. So obviously, one of them came up last time, the street names. So we need to get that policy in the works. The digital banners, if and when we ever get those working correctly, which is really a connectivity issue. This point, and so that's going to get solved when we either have Wi-Fi to them or hardwire. If they're currently connected by Verizon signal. But we get a lot of requests for putting content up, so we desperately need a policy to define what content can go on digital banners downtown. Agenda items. Particularly pre-meeting items, I would say, because the pre-meeting is usually our gateway to agenda items. And we've had plenty of time for pre-meeting items of late, but that may not always be so. And so, you know, what is our process for getting things on pre-meeting? Can anybody just ask? Who can ask? Does it need, you know, sponsorship by one or more of you, so on. Improvements on public property. We had something show up in one of our alleys, and it's fine, but you know, it's a public space and it wasn't put there by, you know, a public group, and so really we need, you know, and again, if everybody, you know, it's kind of the, what if everybody wanted to do it standard, right? If everybody wanted to do it, that would clearly be a problem. We need to get into, I think, a general policy for improvements to public property, which could be alleys, which could be parks, which could be the public streets. And a number of things show up over time, benches and displays, and we get requests repeatedly to put things up on light poles and so on. So I think we need a policy defining how what is eligible for that treatment or what the process is for that consideration. More involved than just a temporary thing. And then just generally communications with department heads and staff. We get a variety of people communicating with department heads and staff, which I may or may not know about. I often find out after the fact. Certainly, I would appreciate a policy that requires those communications to go through me, or at least include me. So I'd like that to be something that you consider a formal option as well. But also open to anything else that you think is a need that be drafting something to address. I will note that the last time we had I won't say the last time, a recent time that we developed a policy, which was on naming of public places, not to include streets. One of the members of the commission volunteered to develop that policy for us, and we developed it through then subsequent discussions of his draft here at the pre-meeting table, but I'm willing to take a stab at all of these too, if nobody wants to try to sponsor them, but just open that up for a little bit of discussion.
So you mean like when it comes to like pre-meeting policy, like tonight, you know, I did request Mr. Valentine to come in and talk about that, and you know, what if Lad has something, Commissioner Strayer, what if Commissioner Castleberry, what if you have with Mayor? So we need something more of a process on what gets thrown on there based on, you know, certain amount of time and whatnot too, so.
Yeah, priority, and like I say, of late, we haven't had, you know, we haven't used up our pre-meeting time. We might do it for the first time tonight in recent memory, but you know, like I said, it's what if everybody wanted to do it? You know, what's the process? What are the priorities?
Can we have a policy where the mayor comes to you with and has a request for something, but if a commissioner has something that they want to get on, they need to talk to a couple other commissioners and get something of consensus that this is something that the group wants to talk about. And I'm just looking forward to years down the road so that you don't have one commissioner who's constantly every other week is trying to get things on the agenda. That commissioner, if they feel like it's important, they need to reach out to a couple other commissioners and get a feel for if this is something the group wants to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, that had occurred to me. That's kind of the way special meetings work.
Right. The mayor can call a special meeting or any two commissioners.
There's two versions of it, right? One version, the bylaws say one thing and the charter says something else, but
I go
one
on the
says,
charter.
one says two and one says three. I think the charter says two.
Right.
I think the bylaws say three. But yes, that would be similar to the way special meetings are.
But I think that three, isn't that to get something as a resolution in the regular meeting? I guess I was thinking more of pre-meetings.
No, I mean, I was referring to pre-meetings, but no, I'm talking about requesting a special meeting. So you actually have two different. The charter says one thing, which I think is two.
It is.
And your bylaws say three. So, you know, we always try to make sure if we have a special meeting and the mayor can't do it, we always try to make sure three commissioners request it, but just because bylaws say that too, but yeah, I mean, that's just a model. That might be a good model for agenda items.
Perhaps something.
I think another one that I would like to look into is how we do proclamations. How our requests submitted. If they're coming from the city, then shouldn't we as city commissioners be aware of them, know about them, approve them before they are created? Because that has not happened.
Okay.
That would be a request that I have.
I think that we should take a look at, you mentioned commissioners going through you rather than being in City Hall, so to speak. And I guess my feeling is that we're commissioners around the table, but we're also citizens. So there are times when commissioners are going to need to go into City Hall and take care of personal business. But other than that, there's no reason that we should be going into City Hall, roaming around, talking to anybody other than the administrator, the clerk, or if our attorney's in the building. And I think we just need to tighten up on that and realize that those are the three people who work for us. We're communicating with them. The rest of the staff is not communicating with us, they're communicating with their boss. And I know that several times I have reached out to Matt with a question, but I've never reached out to Matt and told Matt, you need to do something. It's, you know,
That's right.
I just have a question about something, so I guess my feeling is commissioners are in City Hall to go up the front steps and go to Greg's office. And other than that, unless it's personal business, we're not there, because otherwise, in my opinion, it's basically a form of, could be looked at as a form of intimidation to staff who I feel like do a good job. And I don't feel as though feel like they need to be looking over their shoulder. So,
Yeah.
So-
I think that's something that
Yeah,
needs
true
to,
to the answer to, and it's, you put them in a precarious situation. We need to keep you abreast of any discussion we're interested in having.
So would it work better if we even have a question to address our question to you? To get the answer? Yeah, I mean, you can always tell us, yeah, it's an easy question, just go ask Matt, or go ask
Right,
Bill.
And the problem is
That's how
that
I've always,
even if it's a question,
every question goes.
you know, it could be, you know, is this property in violation of city code, right? To give a hypothetical. If a staff person gets that, they all know your commission. So, you know, that, like Commissioner Miller said, has an air of intimidation for them. Sure. I think we all saw a staff person get a question from a person who's not even a city commissioner yet recently. And, you know, he engaged in an oddly vigorous response to that. And that was because, you know, he's fearful that, oh, well, this could go poorly for me then if I'm not right on this. Prioritize it above others who, you know, may have had questions first. And so, you know, if it goes through me and I'm the one asking the question, then I think that helps alleviate that intimidation factor.
And we get this in place, it's important also to let the employees know where we are with this, because they need to rest and do their job, and they can't be bothered by us. They cannot be. It's not,
Also, I think.
it's not right.
One of the other thing, right along with that is, I thought that we agreed that, in utilizing Mr. Galooly's services, that those questions would go through, City Administrator Elliott. And then we would all get an answer as well, rather than hodgepodge questions to, Attorney Galooly.
Right.
So I know that there's other, like, questions are going to Mr. Galooly and we're not getting the responses back, or even city constituents are asking questions of Mr. Galooly and using constituent tax dollars. And we're not even in the loop of that. So I would like to make sure that if a question to a law about the city goes to Mr. Galooly, it goes through Administrator Elliott, and then we all get an answer so that we're all on the same page and it's not hodgepodging around. Because I think that that's a waste of taxpayer dollars, quite frankly. If one person is getting an answer and we're not, so we're not all on the same page. I think that is important to add into that as well.
Anything else?
Will you send us the list? Oh, I didn't write them all.
Yeah.
Of all the ideas that we might want to take a look at. And, so that we can review and maybe champion one of them.
Yep, will do.
Thank you.
There's nothing further on that, Mayor. From the time back, I don't know if any other commissioners have anything, or otherwise we can open it up.
Kind of on that topic, I have a question about the HUD grant that was signed. We have a consolidated plan? You have a,
A consolidated.
Like, what do
plan.
you?
Consolidate, an approved consolidated plan,
Mhm.
no, the city of Adrian with regard to HUD. Neither the city nor the county have consolidated plans. These are generally we do not have one.
so the signature, Mayor, you signed the HUD, COC HUD grant proposal attesting to the fact that we have a consolidated plan.
Wait, what?
The HUD, the COC writes a grant to HUD and the request is about $200,000 and this last time the mayor signed it and in signing you attested that we have a consolidated plan. And I was curious, I didn't know what that, I thought I was missing a boat somewhere.
When did this happen?
I don't, end of September-ish is when it was signed and.
So it's a grant that we, what, the city applied for?
You know. I think that kind of comes back to the communication. I don't know how that works. I thought we had a resolution before we signed any grant work. But, or work to be done, but I don't know what we do about that now. Without a consolidated plan.
If you are speaking of a certification of an approved consolidated plan that was submitted to HUD on behalf of an outside entity, typically that requires, number one, that there be a consolidated, current approved consolidated plan by the federal government. Secondly, that the person who signs it indicating that their plan is consistent, has taken affirmative action, reviewed their submission, certified to the federal government that it is within the consolidated plan, for instance, of the city of Adrian. And if that's been done without, number one, a review of the consolidated plan, and in fact, we don't have a consolidated plan, I would not urge anybody to sign anything remotely close to that and submit it to the federal government.
So.
And if that has been done,
How do we find that?
I'd like to see a copy of it legally, and I think it should be retracted via formal letter. That it was signed in error and without authority of the city of Adrian.
Thank you for bringing that to us.
Yes, thanks.
I thought it was just, that somebody was applying for a grant and they just needed city, like they came and said, we just need somebody from the city, like to say we're a group that exists and we just need this. That's what I really thought. I mean, I read it, but I didn't read that part of it, that it was the consolidated. I did not know that.
So
I guess we weren't applying for it, so I didn't think.
who can retract it? I mean,
It should probably be the person who signed it.
Yep.
And it should probably be done pretty quickly.
Okay.
Because usually on the top of those forms, there's bold language certification of requirements of approval of consolidated plan, which has a very specific meaning within the eyes of the federal.
Get that to Dr. Jeff, please,
Thank you.
please proceed with tracking whatever's in.
Thank you.
But I think that goes, like, what you were saying is that goes to a policy or procedure that we shouldn't be signing any documents as the city if they haven't been approved by either
our
us.
strategic plan, right? Communication
Yeah,
was the first thing that we started off at our strategic plan meeting was communicating about these things. What is in the best interest of all our constituents in signing documents like that, we need to be communicating loudly with each other to make sure that that is.
right.
And
And having it
Sure,
reviewed
yeah,
by
absolutely.
the attorney.
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a policy that we have to put in place. If we add that to the list, or if that's just something we should already be doing.
Is it in our code, the authority to sign something like that? I mean, I can't willy-nilly sign something and say,
well, we can't, there's nothing gonna be signed unless from a grant standpoint, no matter if it's a private entity or nonprofit, without city commissioner approval.
You adopted a policy.
And the mayor executes the document after the resolution is adopted.
We can't apply for grants.
Okay, so we already have it, we already have a policy.
If it was a grant application, now, if it was some other statement or whatever, it just goes back to authority. Yeah, if it doesn't say somewhere in the charter of the city code that so-and-so is authorized to do this, then that authority comes from the commission. Speaking by way of this resolution.
But you haven't seen that document? Or John hasn't?
Okay, well, the other item, Fred to ask, we're kind of at the 7 o'clock hour, so let's move on to public comment.
At this time, we will open it up for public comment. We will begin inside the city chambers first. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit, and for the record, please state your name and address. After we are done inside the chambers, we will open it up to all Zoom participants.
Ernest Thomas. Adrian, whatever. Anyway, number one, city sidewalks is ridiculous. People are tripping and falling, not because they're off balance, but because the city sidewalk is messed up. It's like a roller coaster. Anyway, two, the Park Bridge behind the jail is messed up. I see the post on Facebook. It's messed up, needs to be fixed. The trees are growing through the power lines. That's what caused power outages. That's what caused wires down. Not just that big old thing that activates electricity for this community. It's because the city refuses to trim the trees. That's how you can prevent from wires being down. Hey, three. There's three, okay, 4, hate speech. It shall be followed, meaning you cannot call anybody out their names or judge them any type of way, because we're all humans. It doesn't matter the color, the gender, or their religion. We're all humans. And that follows the Constitution. So it shall be followed the state law and federal law. It shall not be, which y'all call, whatever y'all call it, it's a federal and state law. It shall be followed. So, let's see. 5, police response time. Police response time is slow. I'll be the first one on the scene. So far this year, I've been the first one on the scene. 3 or 4 crashes and 1 fighting. Yesterday, it took APD, police department, 10-20 minutes to get to that scene. 1 officer responded, but before then, the female suspect fled. So they need to up their response time. That's the potholes in the street. If the city don't want to be responsible for paying people car bill for flat tires or whatever mechanical issues after hitting a pothole, then that can be fixed. See, the Dr. Luther King Jr. Speech meaning civil rights. It's a federal and state law. It shall be followed. Period. His dream was, I had a dream that one day this nation shall rise up. Not one color, not one gender. It should be, I know, it should be that we should all come together. It's one nation. That American flag stands for one thing. It doesn't matter. I'll continue.
No, your time is up. Thank you. At this time, we will open it up to all Zoom participants. May I get a motion to adjourn?
So.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. And then next meeting, the regular meeting, sorry, will begin at 7:15. I call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting for October 2nd, 2023. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please. Mayor Heath, present. Commissioner Halt,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts, present. Commissioner Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss.
Yeah.
All commission, all commission members present. May I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support. I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please. Mayor Heath? Yes. Commissioner Halt?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts? Yes. Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer?
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss?
Yes.
Consent agenda approved by unanimous vote. Under the regular agenda, special orders. Special order -1 is a public hearing to hear and consider comments regarding the closeout of the rental rehab grant. At this time, I call the public hearing to order. Anybody wishing to comment on the rental rehab grant may do so at this time. If inside the chambers, you may come up to the microphone. If on Zoom, you may begin as well. Hearing no comments, I call the public hearing closed. Moving on to ordinances. Ordinance number 23-007. It's a second reading and consideration of an ordinance to amend the City of Adrian zoning ordinance. Article 21I-2, General Industrial District, Section 21.02, Principal Uses Permitted. May I get a motion to adopt the ordinance? Move to adopt the ordinance.
Support.
Is there any public comment regarding this ordinance? Are there any commissioner comments regarding this ordinance? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Gauss. Roll call, please. Commissioner Halt?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts? Yes. Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer?
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry?
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss?
Yes.
Mayor Heath? Yes. Ordinance adopted by unanimous vote. At this time, we will now begin public comment. This is all general public comment. It doesn't pertain to any certain resolution or ordinance, and you may approach the podium if you wish to speak for public comment. You have a 3-minute time limit, which will be visible to you on the screen. And for the record, please state your name and address. When we are done inside the chambers, we will then open it up to Zoom participants.
My name is Ernest, State of Michigan resident. First and foremost is that to make this community great again is for the community to be heard and to not be denied. And also for this community to be heard is for each and one of us, the commissioner, the mayor, and all those that are supposed to be important for this community, is to sit down with the community and hear them out and not deny them the request to sit down, the request to sit down with y'all. They're to be heard. We're human. Y'all human too. Just because y'all are in certain positions, y'all still human. So are we. So we deserve to be heard. Because that flag stands for one nation. That means all of us, gender, no matter what gender, race, whatever. We're all human and we all deserve to be heard. Doesn't matter what title you're in, under. Because guess what? At the end of the day, we under one title, which is one nation. So just like y'all want to be heard, we want to be heard. And civil rights deserve to be active, such as it's a state law, it's also a federal law. I want to bring that up again. State law and federal law. Nobody should be judged on their gender or religion or anything. Once again, we're all human. So they deserve the respect, just like y'all want the respect. You gotta give respect to get respect as human beings. And that's what we are today. Human beings forevermore. Well, including the service dog is still a family member of theirs, so it's still human. So that's all I have to say. Y'all want respect, y'all gotta give respect by listening to the community. Let them voice their concern, not under no time limit. Because guess what? Did Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have a time limit? No. He was assassinated after his famous speech, I Had a Dream. Why? Because he spoke what was right. He spoke the truth, no lie. Even the fellow men and women that are overseas right now, fighting for this freedom, fighting for this country. Well, they red, black, and white. They all colors. Fight for this country. But what are they fighting for? Resemble hatred. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Ben Negron, 159 North Madison, on behalf of the OLA organization, with a full heart. What you've done today is historic. It has never been done. Commissioner Strayer, you can go on a big win. This is big, what you've done today. I'm also speaking on behalf of the thousands of migrant workers and those that support the migrant workers and have been doing so for years. A simple act of a memorial, which you've just voted yes to do. You have said, yes, we can, which are the words of Dolores Huerta, who, despite Cesar Chavez getting a lot of accolade, his right and left hand was none other than a diminutive migrant worker named Dolores, who coined Si Se Puede. In talking to our city administrator, Greg Elliott, many months ago about this possibility, I did not get a no. I got, I think we can. In discussing it further with Alan Helt, I got a Si Se Puede. And later, and all along with our Commissioner Gordon Gauss, I think we can. Si se puede. So I'll leave you with this. Cesar Chavez says we cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. The fight is never about grapes or lettuce. It's always about people. And the people who are honored this evening are thousands. I'd like to highlight a couple. First and foremost, Mr. and Mrs. De Leon, who Cesar Chavez visited to their home at 368 Winter Street. We honor them with your vote today. Mr. and Mrs. Eva and Steve Heider, who for more than 50 years have been working on behalf of the migrant workers in this community. We all know Idali Feliciano. For decades, working on behalf of the migrant workers in this community, the people. And finally, a dear friend, Rudy Flores, who we know to this day continues to be actively involved in making sure that the people that put the tomatoes that we enjoy from our salads on our table get their due recognition. Si se puede. You made it happen. Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
At this time, we will open it up to all Zoom participants. Just for the record, please state your name and address, and the time will be on your screen. Hearing no comments, before we begin commissioner comments, I would just like to publicly apologize to my commissioners and to the city for an oversight, obviously on my fact of signing on a grant application. I did not intentionally mean any ill harm, and I hope that we can get this rectified right away, and it sounds like we can. I do want to say that, and I'm not making excuses, but I sign for Croswell all the time, applying for grants. I signed for Adrian College, Siena Heights. I've actually been doing that. And from now on, lesson learned, anything that is coming through, even from these private entities, not the city, I'm going to bring through to the city administrator and city attorney just to make sure that it is okay for me to be signing, because this has been going on for quite a while with some of those entities that I did name, and they will come a lot of times and need a signature, and they had been doing that even previously to me being mayor. But I want to make sure that we do not have this again. And so even for those asks, any ask at all on a grant from now on will go through. But I do want to apologize. It was done unintentionally because like I said, it was not us applying for the grant. And that is how all these other entities have also approached me as well and said that that it was not us applying, it was them. And I know there was one where the Croswell did come to us, but that was something where we were in on it, which is why they came to us. But from now on, everything will be going through the city attorney and city administration, just to make sure, even though in the past, some of those other ones have always been fine to go through, I'm taking no chances. And I just want to apologize. And when I'm wrong, I do admit it. And I am deeply sorry. Commissioner Roberts?
Couple of things this weekend, or this Friday, is First Fridays. It is a maple theme. It is also Adrian High School's homecoming and Taste of Lenawee. So there's a lot going on Friday in Adrian. Please plan accordingly, pick one and attend. Citizens Academy is going along. We've had our third session. I'd like to thank Commissioner Ladd Strayer for stepping in at a last minute where I had to go out of town for work last week. So thank you for attending on a rainy evening. Appreciate you very much. We have several members of the Academy in the audience tonight, and we've had great feedback from the various presentations. So I'd just like to thank all of the department heads who have been putting together such fine presentations and educating us as commissioners that attend and the residents. So thank you. We have 7 more evenings, 7 more Wednesdays before the graduation in November. Thanks.
May I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Meeting is